Hello. Okay, so this video is basically going to be like almost a continuation of my PS4 versus Xbox video, but I'm going to be talking about the Xbox a lot more. Even though there's not much to talk about, I feel like, but my point is, I'm not a fanboy. I used to be pretty big fanboy back in like the PS3 versus Xbox 360 days. I had videos on my old channel explaining like why I thought the PS3 was a lot better at the time. And I think at the end of the generation cycle, last generation, the PS3 I think still won in my opinion. Not by a lot, but I think it still won. Um, okay, so I don't like. There's people that really love the Xbox One, and even Microsoft in general, and that's totally fine. Um, Usually those are like little kids or people like parents that buy their kids consoles and they just kind of accept it and they don't really branch off to the PS4 or even PC or anything, and that's completely fine. But I'm talking about the people that are a bit older. I don't know how most people, especially now, can defend Microsoft and Xbox and what they've done with the Xbox One. If you look back at even the 360, Microsoft has really never had true exclusives. It's not a console that you should go to just to buy exclusive games or the games you really want to play because I understand if you don't have a PC, but I'm talking about like true exclusivity. Like Microsoft never has that. Like I don't know, like Gears of War is on PC, Forza, I'm pretty sure. I might be wrong. Some of the Halo games. Sea of Thieves just came out and apparently it's not that great. Um, which I'm not surprised because it's the only game Microsoft fans had to look forward to, you know, for a while. And like God of War comes out soon. Like the PS4 has so many games. Spider Man's coming out this year. Days Gone's probably gonna come out this year. Hopefully, I don't know. There's just so many games that PS4 has that are actual exclusives that stay on the console that don't go to PC. Last time I heard about that was like Metal Gear Solid and I think another game, a Final Fantasy. That was the only time because Sony is actually smart in that regard. And sure, they're not really a computer savvy company, but they're still gonna keep their core games or all their games on the console, so people actually have a reason to buy a console. So I just don't understand why Microsoft doesn't do the same. I understand like if they move a lot of their games to the PC, they will make more profit off of it and all that stuff. But like at the end of the day, you shouldn't buy an Xbox One for the most part for exclusive games because they're not exclusive unless you can't afford a PC and like if you just like consoles. But I'm saying at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because Xbox One most more times than not don't have true exclusives. And it's funny to me because okay, so last generation, the Xbox 360, the failure rate was terrible. At one point, the failure rate was so bad. And what I mean by failure rate, obviously, is the console and how it operated and how it always died on people with the red ring of death, overheating, disk errors, all that stuff. At one point, the failure rate was 40% high. And I think this is in the middle of the cycle. It could have been later on, I'm not sure. But just think about that for a sec. The failure rate was 40% high. So that means you had almost just more than half of a chance of your Xbox dying, or close, obviously, or just having problems in general. That's so bad. But if you look at last generation compared to now, even around this time, the Xbox 360 still had better games and more games than the Xbox One has now. And going back to the whole exclusive thing, like they're sure they weren't true exclusive, but they still have more games. See what I'm saying? Now the Xbox One this generation barely has any, and it's 4 years. So I think like 4 years now. So I don't know what they're doing. So at least last generation, the Xbox 360 had games. Sure, the failure rate was really bad on the consoles and with the Elite, and they lied about that. It was still trash. Like it still broke down. But then in return, this generation, it's like we have a working console that works fine, doesn't fail on you, and but it has no games. So it's like, which do you prefer? Like last generation that has more games, better games, but the failure rate was really bad. I get it. Closer to the end of the cycle, the failure rate got better. Or do you prefer this generation where the Xbox One works fine and everything, but there's hardly any games to play on it? You see, so that's kind of what I'm getting at. And like, I don't know. It's just it doesn't have a lot of games. The only reason I bought it is because like I saw the Gears of War edition. It was more like, oh, this looks so cool, and I never played Gears of War 4, and like I don't want to buy a PC, so I'm like, let me just buy the One S and see how it is. But then after like a few weeks. I'm like, why did I buy this? I already knew that was gonna happen. Like, most of the games to play are on PS4, and that's just the way it is. Like, it's just not being me being a fanboy. Like, if there's two or more companies, you're obviously gonna favor one over the other. Even if I didn't have an Xbox One, if I just had a PS4, that wouldn't make me a fanboy because I still wouldn't have much of a reason to buy a PS4. Obviously, when there's two companies or more, you're gonna favor one over the other. And sure, like last generation, there was some point where Microsoft and Sony were really close. As far as like exclusives, because Microsoft doesn't have true exclusives, but that's really about it. And then the PS3's failure rate was a lot better, obviously. Um, it's just kind of sad to me that people defend the Xbox so much, and for what? Like you can't. I don't like what would be your reason to defend it so much? Like I don't think fanboys in this generation exist as much as they did the last generation, and I'm proof of that because I'm not not a fanboy anymore. I was a bit younger back then, especially on my old channel where I just made like, well, I wouldn't say hate videos on the Xbox, but just like bashing the Xbox, and even the people that liked it. Um, and I look back at it, I'm like, well, it was a good console. It's actually a great console. It's just the failure rate was trash. And that's what threw people off and like made people buy the PS3, I guess. But basically, it's what I'm saying is right now, the Xbox One is dead. There's no reason to buy it. If people want actual exclusive and better games and more games, and I don't know, that's it's at the end of the day, it's about games, right? And if a console doesn't have games or a lot of them, what would be the point of buying that console? It just doesn't make sense to me. So I don't know. It's 4 years into the cycle, and Microsoft still hasn't got their shit together. So, it's gonna be 5 years eventually. So by then, are they gonna announce, the next console? I mean, they just recently kind of announced the X, you know. So like they keep announcing all this stuff, like a new console, all these accessories, and new controllers on their Instagram. I follow them, but like, where's the games? Like all these fanboys comment on their Instagram posts like, "Oh, this is so awesome, these controllers, etc." But like, people want games though. Like, why not just give us that and like work towards that? And please don't work towards a new console because this console generation for them is still lacking. So, and then you see Sony, you know, hitter after hitter, like God of War, like um, freaking Last of Us, Uncharted, all these games, like, and they don't have to worry about anything. Like their games talk for them. Where Microsoft, like, the only thing they brag about is their Halo and Gears of War and Forza, and that's it. And all these other games, once in a while they sprinkle on, like once a year, and then a game like Sea of Thieves ends up kind of failing. So, man, this you can't defend the Xbox right now. Like, there's no way. Um, I can think of a million reasons why the PS4 is better this generation, and I just hopefully I don't if Microsoft comes out with another Xbox, next year, or frick this year, if they announce it, it's an automatic failure. They're pretty much admitting that they failed. People would be pissed because they just bought the X. Even if Sony does the same thing, the difference between Sony doing the same thing is that they wouldn't be admitting failure because they'd have to jump to what Microsoft's doing because they want to get ahead with sales. From a consumer standpoint, that might be a failure, but through a gamer standpoint, it's not really a failure. It's kind of a difference, So that's kind of my video right now. It's kind of like a part two to my Xbox versus PS3. Probably not gonna call it that though. Just hey, let me know what you think. I think I have some pretty valid points. So peace out.